Okay, step number one, we're going to have to remove the radio. There's our Ford radio removal tool. Put one in on each side of the radio and push them in firmly, and they like disengage a clip that's back behind the radio. Now 9 times out of 10 these work pretty easy, but this one is going to be, you'll see, stubborn. The one on the right side, the radio disengages easily, but I finally did get it. And once you disengage them, the radio slides out so far. Don't forget we have wires to unplug. Climate control, that's what we're doing right now. A little fine screwdriver and we'll get in behind it. Once you disengage the one side, it pulls right off. And then we're actually going to have to take here and get this out of the way. And again, there's that sensor, and then we're going to actually unplug the radio itself. Once the other one's unplugged, the radio will come out farther that it's easier to access. And here we're just going to take and disengage it. I have it resting down on the floor, and push in and slide back. Again, it's hassling a little bit. Yeah, wire plug-ins on a car are something that can go easy, or they can hassle with you. This one's being a little bit of a pain, but I do believe we have it released, and there it is. Try not to break the clip, sort of the big thing. And there's the temperature sensor for in the car, and wire plug-in for the radio. Okay, the next order of business, we're going to go over here and open the glove box door. Pretty cut and dry on this. And then we're going to pull out on these plastic rubber tabs on each side, and swing the glove box down out of the way. Give us some more room to work on this. Besides the radio out, sort of on this whole deal, you're working in through where the radio was and in through the hole right here at the glove box. Okay, next step here, we're going to remove the bracket that rests the back of the radio. There's going to be 3 screws on the back side of this, 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom. There is the one at the bottom to start with. Alrighty, we're going to reach in from the front here, put the 1/4-inch drive ratchet in the socket, and we're going to turn these loose. You maybe could work around this bracket, but I tried a little bit before deciding to remove this, and I think it will be best just to remove it. And it's starting to turn. It's actually turning out a little bit hard, but it turns into plastic, you'll see here once it's out. And turn we go. Don't seem like there's ever an end to it, but it does eventually come out here. Oh, and by the way, that is a 7mm socket. If you were wondering the size of it, at least this car had the size that was used on it. Yeah, I tried to get the camera back here as good as I could to get the picture turning this out. It's not too bad, a little bit to focus in there, but considering the deal where I have the camera, and there is the screw out on the bottom. Now we have 2 more on the top. Okay, and there's the same deal. I'm going to just reach in from the front back behind. I'm actually, while I'm doing this, I'm watching it on the link on the phone there with the link with the action camera. And this one's coming out a lot easier. That other one they must have put in the plastic was still hot or something. But that one came right out. Now we're going to get the other one out on the right side of the car. And then that'll be this bracket out of her hair. Yeah, this on this car isn't the easiest to do, this heater blend door actuator, but it's not the hardest either. I did one on a 2003 Explorer. I never made a video on it, unfortunately. Now that was a lot more difficult than this car. Okay, this is loose, and it just pulls out from the front. I'm going to have to take and push this wire clip back out, and then we'll just remove the whole bracket. And there's the bracket out of her way. And there's our heater blend door actuator. And I think you can see what I'm saying with that metal bracket for the radio out of the way. It makes life easier, but it's still a lot of wires and that in the way. And there's the plug-in for it. And start with, that seems as logical as anything. We'll get this wire unplugged. I'm reaching in through the glove box opening, and there it is. And push in on it and just pull out. Okay, now we're going to take one of these screws out that hold the heater blend door actuator itself. Now these are 8mm on this car, and just again turn counterclockwise, trying to keep it focused without the camera falling all around, and just turn it out. It's not again the most pleasant to get to, and it's out so far. We should be able to here just turn it out without using the ratchet and just the extension in the socket. Yep, and here it is. It's definitely turning out like that, and that's one down. and we'll go work on the next one. They put an amazing amount of screws to hold this in place. Now there again, after I picked the socket up and started again, I dropped it the first time, but now I think we're going to get it. And okay, not yet. Just have to get in here now with fingers, not a lot of room to work, and hopefully, and there is the screw. Okay, that is one down. Okay, now we're going to work on another one. Now we're going to just take and work on the one right down below where we were working. This one partially holds this metal bracket that's over a vacuum actuator, but that's irrelevant. But just when we go to put it back in, we'll have to line it back up, and just same deal, turning it out, turning. None of them seem like they really want to turn out easy, just to mess with you working down in this tight area, reaching down in where the radio, and ever down to the extension in the socket, and we're just going to try that since it's starting to turn free. Yeah, it's definitely starting to turn pretty easy. This one was a little bit easier to get to than the first one, although there's worse ones yet to come. And there we go, and now maybe we don't drop it. And there's the second one out. That's two down. Nevertheless, before we proceed, we got to get this duct out that goes to that sensor that we unhooked earlier from down below the radio for the temperature. I actually wanted to pull the clip out, but tape came loose and the clip stayed in place, but they can just be retaped up. And now we're going to take and get to another one of these screws that hold this actuator in. That one right there, see, we're up to number 3 now, and there's still 2 more to go. Yeah, I know there's some pressure against this with it moving the blend door, but I sort of think 5 screws in total is maybe overkill on it, but heaven forbid, won't want to take any chances. Yeah, like I say, this one's starting to turn out. Just sort of about a quarter of a turn at a time is all you can get with the room you have to work. Nevertheless, I never read it, nor do I care. I'm figuring it out. Probably if you read the Ford manual on this, they probably want you to, like if you're doing the heater core, probably want you to pull the whole dash out. Which, yeah, man, once the dash was out, you could get right to them. But I still think this is the lesser evil, working in through where the radio sits and pulling the whole dash out of the car, since we're not, in this case, need a heater core. And now we're going to get the one right down there on the bottom, the other one that holds that metal bracket over this vacuum actuator. This was one of the actually easier ones to access. And then there's going to be one more after this one, which I'll show you a little secret, because I thought after I was done with this one, it was all ready to come out, but haha, I had a little bit of a joke on me. But okay, now just reach in, just turn this one out right easy. Yeah, like I say, this is definitely the easy one of them. Okay, and there's that screw out, and then we're going to go and take this last one after we remove this other part here. Okay, here it is. This you can work right into where the glove box opening. This isn't hard to get to. We're going to take and turn this screw out. And this does not have to come the whole way out, just moved out of the way enough that we can get to the screw for the heater blend door actuator, the last one. It just sits over top of it. It's actually like a little tab on it, like they basically intentionally done it. And they're pulling it back away, but again, we're going to have to go work in to get the next one where the radio sat in the car. Now, once back up on top, actually, I found like about a 1 foot long extension you can get this. And if you look, there's the heater blend door actuator straight down from where the socket is. But you can see I'm turning this out, but that little tab is like, this screw's going to be right underneath that. Like they basically intentionally put that little tab on that you had to move this out of your way to access that last screw. But anyhow, there's the screw out. Okay, made for Mario Day if I wouldn't have dropped it on top of the heater blend door, but now we'll get it fished out of there. And anyhow, now you can see where we're going there. With that out of our way, we can get to this last screw for the heater blend door actuator itself. And that, again, the longest extension you can go straight. I will admit, once you move that other part, it's not so hard to get to. And this will be the last one. And anyhow, there it is. And then we can take and pull this blend door actuator itself out. It sort of takes a little bit of like working it back and forth, because it sits the rod into it good ways, but just gently keep working it, like I say, jiggling it back and forth, and it will, again, round and round we go, but it is free of it. And just get that pulled out, and okay, now we are ready for reassembly. Before we start putting it back together, just show you here where it did set. And when you put it in, that, like I say, the plastic rod that sticks out from the heater blend door actuator only goes in one way. It's sort of like a T-shape in a way. I don't know if that's really right, but when you go to put it in, you gotta like lift up. There's that metal rod. It's got a spring on it until you line it up. And it takes, again, sort of like bringing it out, just sort of working with it. It can try your patience, but it does go. Big thing's not to get too brutal with it. Don't break anything. I mean, it's not real fragile, but on the other hand, it's plastic. It could break too. But you do have it set back in about. It's about there. Like I say, once it starts in, and it is ready now to start putting all these screws back in. Yeah, I'm going to put the one we took out last, put that one in first. And again, once you have access to it, this one isn't so hard to do. And we'll just start getting it all fastened back up. And before I go tightening any of them, I want to get another one or so started. Be sure it is lined up. And like I say, then start tightening it in and then worry about the other ones. And there's two started in diagonally across from each other, finger tight. And then I'm going to put one more in. And remember, I'm letting those up right now. Two of them have that metal, that cover over that vacuum actuator that's just laying down out of the way, but don't want to mess with that one right now. And then we're going to start here and tighten these up with the one in the upper right hand corner first. Ready, and we'll just get going. Yeah, they turned in a lot easier than most of them came out, and a lot of times that happens. They're just, again, self-tapping into the plastic screws. Okay, there's one tightened up, and we'll get in here and we'll get this other one tightened. Yeah, you gotta love technology. Like I say, using the little action camera. I mean, I'll admit at times I'm bumping it around and not working, but at least you can get into this next to impossible area and do this taping. That's something, once upon a time, you couldn't even have dreamed of doing this, and then we'll get that and tightened. Alrighty, now we're going to move down here in the lower right hand corner on the actuator, and we'll tighten this one up. And we're getting there. A few more to go, but this one I'm using an extension and a deep socket and getting into it. Like I say, a few of them you can do that, a few of them you can't. The big key is patience and don't get excited. Okay, now we're tightening this one up. Yeah, actually, this broke all at once on this car. And what it did, it broke in the hottest position. It sat all winter, didn't run it, and then went to get it going in about the first week of March, and it was cold, 20 degrees. I mean, the roads were nice and that, and went and turned the heat up full tilt, and when it warmed up, it wouldn't come off full tilt. There was gears in them. Must have stripped one of those gears. Alrighty, now we're going to put this one in the lower left corner, and then we'll tighten that one up. Yeah, this is actually, I had one of these do the same thing, but it wasn't even in a Ford. It was in a Blazer, and it happened. And again, when that one broke, it was in the summer, and it'd bake you out of it. I had to get it fixed. Okay, here we're going to tighten this one. Oh, furthermore, on the one we're doing now, don't forget to put that metal cover that covers that vacuum actuator up in place before tightening it in. Yeah, I say it don't even need that cover when you did it. I just laid it down out of the way, but just so you don't forget. And we got to do the one right down below it, sort of like right in the middle there, and we'll start that one in, and then we'll get this one tightened up. Here will be another one. We'll just be using the ratchet and the deep socket for just a little extra length. I tried the extension in the short socket, and it seems like that was too long. This just works right. And tightening away, again, just deja vu all over. Well, at least on the good news, it's certainly not going to fall out. They didn't want to take any chances of that happening. It is hard to believe, a little piece of plastic with the 5 screws holding it in place, but again, it won't go anywhere. And that one's in, and now we're going to put this back in over top of it that we had to move to access the one screw. One plus with this, if you notice, there is like a little locating dowel at the top and bottom, which helps hold it in place till you start to screw. And we'll get the one. Actually, this is one of the easiest things on the whole project to access this one right there through the glove box. And now on this top one, I'm going to put a little Vaseline here on the head, and then we're going to put it in the socket to hold it in place so it don't fall out. It's too far back in to just reach with your fingers to start it in. Okay, there it is. And yeah, that's my shop Vaseline. I wouldn't recommend it for any medical purposes. It's not exactly real sterile, but anyhow. Now, here we can, there's the locating dowel at the top, and there's going to be where this screw that we just put in the socket's going to go. And this one, again, we can use the extension and just sort of guide it back in and not have the screw hopefully fall out while we're doing so. That's the purpose of the Vaseline, and I'm using a wobble extension. If you see the socket has a little bit of movement, just enough to help you out, and I do believe it started in. Yep, it's turning in. Okay, after this is pretty much the last really paint on this. The rest of this is pretty easy. We'll go here, we'll tighten one at the bottom. I only partially tightened it so it would move around till the top hole was lined up, and now that's tightened up. Now we're going to walk over here. This is the bracket for the radio, and this plastic clip, when I went to push it through, the wire loop came untaped at the wiring harness, so I'm just going to tape it back fast. It didn't break it, never just taped from the factory. And we'll just take it over there. Again's another look at the radio, the rear support, and reach in here, and we're going to tape it in. Okay, and you can see about where it was, but yeah, wire harness will give a little bit, as long as you're within probably a half inch. Now I took and cut a piece of electrical tape, because it's not enough room to swing around with the whole roll of tape, and it's one side done, and we'll just go wrap around the other side, and that'll be back in place and ready to go, good as new. Alright, yeah, I never showed it earlier. If you remember when I pulled the tube for that temperature sensor, it came undone. That one I retaped, but I couldn't get the camera in to really show it, even with the little action camera. Right, and there it is, and now we get to put this radio bracket in, which is right in from the front, and sort of push in, give it a tilt upwards, and then a twist to the right, whatever it takes. It does go back in. It's a little bit contrary, but okay, we about have it here. And that wiring harness and that tube for that temperature sensor more than anything is what keeps getting caught on. And then down below, it wants to get caught on top of more wires, but okay, it is in, just about lined up. And this also has little locating dowel pins, if you find them, and it'll help hold it there till you put the screws in. Oh, one other important piece of information, but of course that tube for that sensor and the wiring harness goes back in behind. And okay, now with the wires we taped, that goes right in that hole to help hold it behind the dash. And okay, there it is in place. Now we get to put these screws in. I'm going to do the one at the top first, and over to the left side of the car. Start it in finger tight before we tighten it in with the ratchet. And at least on this car, and if yours is the same, the screws for this bracket are golden color, and again they're also 7mm, when the other ones for the heater actuator, the blend door actuator, are 8mm and they're black, so there's no real chance that you'll definitely put the right screws back in where they went. I already have another one started in now, and that just lets the one right in the, actually there's only one in the bottom of this bracket. Okay, although before putting the one in the bottom, because two's in, the third one's, and it gives some lines up, I'm going to tighten these up since the camera's set up. Probably, if you're doing yours, it'd be probably better to just put the one in the bottom too, but I don't feel like repositioning the camera, and it's lighting and that I have on it nice. And I'm just going to, again, tighten as far as I can with just the socket with my fingers. Now, time for this short socket, no extension. It's what you have room for, and we'll tighten it in. Okay, it's about, and it keeps wanting to slip off, but that's sort of, it's just enough room for that ratchet head. There, that is tightened. And of course, we'll go tighten one now on the right side of the car with this upper bracket. Yeah, I'll be sure to put in a link in the description too. I bought the blend door actuator on Amazon. I'll be sure to put a link to it. And be sure to check back. I always try to, when I do something on a car, I try to post a video if it's something I think that someone will find interest and can help them out. Okay, there it is. That tightened up. Now we can put the one right in the bottom. Okay, this I'm just going to reach around and put in from the front. And I'm not going to get the camera back in this time. And we'll just, this one here goes, again, it has a good bit of give to it. And then carefully get it started in, and it's held in place. Now we're just going to reach back in behind and we'll tighten it. And it gives you another view on the whole job anyhow, and how you're reaching in from the hole in the dash. It's enough room to work, but it does till you're done with this job. Your wrist and that will be feeling it there, probably from twisting and bending around. Okay, there it is. This one is going in nice and easy. Alright, and there, that's tightened in. Now we just have to few fairly easy steps. Okay, I'm going to put the emergency brake on here for one reason, for it make the radio easier to put in. I'm going to put it the whole way down in low gear so the car don't roll off, and I still have a wheel block too, and that gives you room, like I say, to get the radio. We'll put it right in, but again, don't forget we have wire plug in and that temperature sensor to hook back up. And the good news, there's only the plug in for the actually /tag radio and heater control, because that other thing is just an independent sensor to show what's in the car. The temperature sensor, just one plug in, must power both the radio plus the heater controls. Anyhow, that's plugged back in, straight up in. And also the antenna is built into that too. There's no separate antenna coax. And here we'll just take and push this in, trying to get a view of it here that you can see it going in this sensor. And I did clean some of the dust out of it. It was extremely dusty when I pulled it out, and it's back in. And now, just simply, we're going to take and push the radio back in. And that's about as easy as it gets now. Yeah, the radio installation makes up for some of the rest of it. And we'll just back away and just a view. And we're going to take here, put the car back up and park. Then we're just going to take and start the car quick. Make sure the heater control does work, which in this case it did. And everything's fine. Thank you for watching.